like to call the regular meeting of the Civil Service Commission for July 3rd, 2024. Will now come to order. I want to welcome all in-person and all online attendees. Now, if you want to provide oral comment on any of the agenda items, please be sure to follow the instructions on the first page of the agenda. If you're attending this meeting in person and you would like to pull an agenda item for discussion, when asked, please stand and identify yourself by name or number, and we will return to your item after the consent agenda is approved. Attendees joining this meeting using Zoom application will alert commission staff of your intention to speak about an agenda item by using the quote Q&A function at the bottom of the screen. Please include your name, telephone number, or other identifying feature you selected when logging in, and the agenda item number you want to speak about. Attendees who dialed into today's meeting, please press *9 on your telephone to quote raise your hand to alert commission staff of your intention to speak about an agenda item. When called upon for you to speak, please unmute yourself using *6 on your telephone. And now we will commence with the order of business. And we will start off with the roll call. Will the commission secretary please take roll call?
Commissioner Coleman,
Present.
Commissioner Fletcher,
Present.
Commissioner Johnson, Commissioner Rodriguez Kennedy,
Present.
Commissioner Smith.
Present. All right, next item of business, approval of the minutes. May I have a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting of May 1st, 2024?
So moved.
Seconded.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, will the commission secretary please record the commissioners' votes?
Commissioner Coleman,
Aye.
Commissioner Fletcher,
Aye.
Commissioner Rodriguez Kennedy.
Aye.
Commissioner Smith.
Aye. All commissioners present have voted to approve the minutes, and so they are approved. Next item is non-agenda public comment. Members of the public may address any matter relating to the Civil Service Commission other than the items that are on today's agenda. The total amount of time allowed for public comment will be limited to not more than 2 minutes unless the commission president agrees to extend the time. Now, do any of the attendees want to make a public comment about any matter relating to the Civil Service Commission, but not on today's agenda? If so, and you joined the meeting using Zoom, please use the Q&A function on the bottom portion of the screen to inform commission staff. If you dialed into today's meeting, you may press *9 on your telephone to quote raise your hand to alert commission staff. When called upon for you to speak, please unmute yourself using *6 on the telephone. We will need to wait for a minute in the event somebody wants to make a comment and is attempting to alert staff now. I'm going to ask the executive officer, Todd, to please start a timer.
Yes, please.
And in the meantime, we're waiting for that. Does anybody here want to speak to any item not on the agenda? Doesn't look like it.
Commissioners, 1 minute has passed and we've received no requests to make a public comment.
All right, thank you very much. Before we go any further, though, I'd like to make a comment. Recently, my adult and independent daughter, Caroline Smith, was appointed to the interim deputy director, chief administrative officer director for the Health and Human Services Department. Because she is my daughter and because she's also a source of income, I will no longer be participating in any way in matters before this commission that affect Health and Human Services Agency. I will not be assigned any cases from Health and Human Services Agency, nor will I vote or participate in any discussion on items on this and future agendas that affect any way Health and Human Services Agency, and that includes all items in executive session as well. There is an item on today, and I will excuse myself and leave the meeting for that item later today. Okay. We're going to move on now to agenda item discussions. Do any of the attendees want to pull an agenda item for discussion? If you're attending this meeting in person and you would like to pull an agenda item for discussion, please stand and identify yourself by name or number, and we will return to your item after the consent agenda is approved. If you are speaking for an appellant or a complainant, please use their assigned number. If you join the meeting using Zoom, please use the Q&A function at the bottom portion of the screen to inform commission staff of the agenda item you want to speak about. If you dialed into today's meeting, you may press *9 on your telephone to raise your hand to alert commission staff. When called upon for you to speak, please unmute yourself by using *6 on your telephone. Now we will need to wait a minute in the event somebody wants to pull an agenda item and is attempting to alert staff now. And again, Executive Officer, would you start a timer?
Yes.
And does anybody here in attendance wish to pull an agenda item for discussion?
Commissioners, 1 minute has passed and we've received no request to pull an agenda item for discussion.
All right. Now we're going to move on to the formation of the consent calendar. Will the Commission Secretary please announce the items forming the consent agenda today?
Commissioners, agenda item number 8 has been withdrawn. Agenda items 6 and 7 are automatically pulled for discussion. Therefore, agenda items 1 through 5 and 8 through 11 form the consent agenda for today.
Thank you very much. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
I'll move.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Well, is there any discussion? Hearing none, will the Commission Secretary please record the Commissioners' votes?
Commissioner Coleman,
Aye.
Commissioner Fletcher,
Aye.
Commissioner Rodriguez Kennedy.
Aye.
Commissioner Smith.
I vote yes on the consent agenda, but I do abstain from items that involve Health and Human Services Agency. Okay. All right, we're going to move on now to our discussion items. The first agenda item is number 6. This is Commissioner Rodriguez Kennedy's report on a discrimination investigation. Now, again, since this matter involves Health and Human Services Agency, I have, as I previously disclosed the reasons for my disqualification, I will exit the meeting room while discussion and voting occurs. I'm asking Commissioner Fletcher if you will please chair the meeting for that portion while the Commissioner Rodriguez Kennedy reads that report.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Smith. Do any of the attendees want to speak about this agenda item? If so, and you joined the meeting using Zoom, please use the Q&A function on the bottom portion of the screen to alert commission staff. If you dialed into today's meeting, you may press *9 to raise your hand to alert commission staff. We will need to wait a minute in the event that somebody wants to speak about this agenda item and is attempting to alert staff now. Will the executive officer please start the timer?
Yes. Commissioners, 1 minute has passed and we've received no request to speak about this agenda item.
Thank you. Hearing none, Commissioner Rodriguez Kennedy, please proceed with your report.
Thank you, Commissioner Fletcher. The Civil Service Commission appointed me, Commissioner Rodriguez Kennedy, as its member to be in the investigating officer in the matter of the complaint submitted by employee 2023-027, former licensed psychiatric registered nurse, which alleged during discrimination based on gender and retaliation by the Health and Human Services Agency. In accordance with the established rules and procedures of the Commission, the matter was concurrently referred to the Office of Ethics and Compliance for investigation. The OEC concluded the discrimination investigation and has reported its findings to the Commission. This investigating officer has received and reviewed the OEC's report and has taken into consideration all documentation submitted in this matter. This investigating officer concurs with the OEC report and has concluded that the evidence does not support a finding of probable cause and that a violation of discrimination laws occurred. Therefore, it is recommended that employee 2023-027 Rule 6 discrimination complaint be denied, and 2, the Commission approve and file this report with the finding of no probable cause to believe that the complainant has been lawfully discriminated against, and I so move.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, will the Commission Secretary please record Commissioner votes?
Commissioner Coleman,
Aye.
Commissioner Fletcher,
Aye.
Commissioner Rodriguez Kennedy,
Aye.
Those for those commissioners present, that is unanimous. I will now return the chair back to Commissioner Smith for the remainder of the meeting.
We are retrieving him.
Thank you. I am now handing the chair back to Commissioner Smith.
Thank you very much. Let me flip over to make sure where I am in the script here. Thank you all. Got a lot of assistance up here. The next discussion item is agenda item 7, which is Commissioner Fletcher's report on the disciplinary hearing. Do any of the attendees want to speak about this agenda item? If so, and you joined the meeting using Zoom, please use the Q&A function at the bottom portion of the screen to alert Commission staff. If you are dialed into today's meeting, you may press *9 to raise your hand to alert Commission staff. We will need to wait a minute in the event somebody wants to speak about this agenda item and is attempting to alert staff now. And will the executive officer please start a timer?
Yes.
And is there anyone here that would like to speak to agenda item number 7? Okay, thank you.
Commissioners, 1 minute has passed and we've received no request to speak about this agenda item.
All right, thank you. In that case, I'd like to ask Commissioner Fletcher if he would please proceed with his report.
Thank you, Commissioner Smith. Employee 2023-052 appealed an amended order of termination and charges removing him from the position of supervising correctional counselor in the Sheriff's Department. The Commission appointed me, Commissioner Brian J. Fletcher, to hear the appeal and submit findings, conclusions, and recommendations to the Civil Service Commission. Thereafter, a hearing was held on May 6, 2024. The causes of the discipline were 3 charges of incompetency, 2 charges of conduct unbecoming, and 1 charge of acts incompatible with and/or inimical to the public service. The employee was hired to the position of correctional counselor in the department in or around February of 2016. In May of 2018, the employee was promoted to supervising correctional counselor. He remained in this position until his removal on February 15th, 2024. Sometime prior to August 18th, 2022, the employee obtained a handgun from a friend who had relocated from California to Texas, but was in California for a brief visit. The friend had transported the gun to California with plans to sell it to a licensed arms dealer in California. Employee expressed interest in purchasing the handgun, but wanted to test it first. The friend agreed to allow the employee to take possession of the handgun for the purpose of testing it at his convenience while he returned to Texas. The agreement was for the employee to purchase the handgun upon his return from Texas in 2 weeks. In the morning of August 18th, 2022, while on approved time off, the employee went to a 24 hours fitness gym in Oceanside to work out. He worked out for 1 to 1.5 hours. While working out, the employee met with a gym buddy. Following the workout, they smoked cannabis in the employee's car in the parking lot outside the gym. The employee's mother passed away in 2007 and was interred in the Mount Hope Cemetery in San Diego. Her birthday was August 18th. Approximately 5 to 5.5 hours after smoking the cannabis in the parking lot, the employee visited his mother's gravesite in Mount Hope Cemetery. After visiting the gravesite, he returned to his car, then once again left the car to dispose of trash. At the time he walked from his car to the trash receptacle and returned to his car, he was carrying a large gray satchel. During the time that the employee was at the Mount Hope Cemetery, members of the San Diego Police Department Street Gang Unit were parked in and around the cemetery, observing the funeral of a member of a local gang. Such surveillance is common for the unit, as it is common for these services to attract a significant number of observers who are members of the descendants gang. It is known that in such situations, because attendees include gang members, rival gangs might also arrive and violence might ensue. Therefore, those personnel in the unit are trained to watch for firearms, exposed or hidden, that might be observable as in the possession of the attendees or rival gangs taking advantage of the situation. One member of the unit, a detective, was parked in an undercover unit close to the employee's vehicle. Let me back up. One member of the unit, a detective, was parked in an undercover unit close to the employee's vehicle. He observed the employee's activities of first walking to his mother's gravesite, then returned to his car, then second, leaving the car to walk to the trash receptacle and return to the car, carrying the gray satchel. During the second walk, employee turned his head and looked directly at the detective in his undercover vehicle. The detective's training has made him familiar with the use of satchels by gang members for carrying a handgun. The gray satchel carried by the employee was of the size and shape, due to the unknown contents, of those that the detective's training raises suspicion of containing a handgun. When the employee departed the cemetery, the detective radioed other uninformed officers present, stating his suspicions that the employee might be a member of a street gang. Upon departing the cemetery in his vehicle, the employee was followed by a marked San Diego Police Department and subsequently pulled over for excessive window tinting of his vehicle's front windows. During the traffic stop, an officer smelled what she knows to be the scent of burned marijuana or cannabis coming from the employee's vehicle. Both officers then saw what appeared to be marijuana in the employee's vehicle, including a small glass jar containing green leafy substance on the passenger seat, a plastic bowl filled with burned ash, small remnants of a green leafy substance, and burned marijuana wrapped in brown paper i.e. a joint suspected as marijuana due to its contents being a green leafy substance and not tobacco. She also observed small pieces of marijuana leaves on the employee's lap and small holes in the front of the employee's pants. While still in his vehicle, the employee was asked by an officer whether he had been smoking marijuana, to which he replied, "I had it earlier." Shortly after this exchange, the employee was asked if there was anything else in the car, to which the employee responded, "Just right here," showing the officer a small jar containing marijuana and then stated, "Homegrown." After another question, the employee stated, "I haven't smoked anything. I'm not high. I don't have anything in the car." In order to conduct a contraband search as a result of observing the marijuana and other items associated with marijuana, the employee was asked to step out of his car. The employee obliged and was handcuffed and placed into the officer's patrol vehicle. The employee didn't disclose to the officers that the gray satchel contained a handgun. During the contraband search, an officer found the satchel on the right rear passenger floorboard. Inside the satchel was the 9mm handgun with 2 loaded magazines that employee had earlier received from the friend, the registered owner. After collecting and photographing the evidence, the employee was transported to the San Diego Police Department headquarters for processing. Although arrested for violating penal code sections relating to carrying a concealed weapon in a vehicle and carrying a loaded firearm on the person or in a vehicle when not the registered owner, the district attorney's office declined to file a criminal complaint and denied that there is any pending action contemplated by their office. Employee is guilty of incompetency for violating state and federal laws and department policies by consuming marijuana, a controlled substance, in a public place. 2, possessing an open container of marijuana in his vehicle. 3, possessing a handgun without having a license to do so. 4, carrying a concealed weapon on his person. 5, carrying a concealed weapon in his vehicle. And 6, possessing a firearm while being an unlawful user of marijuana in violation of federal laws, all on August 18, 2022. Employee is guilty of conduct unbecoming for being in possession of an open container of marijuana in his vehicle together with a concealed weapon, resulting in his arrest by the San Diego Police Department on August 18, 2022. Regardless that the employee was never charged with any crimes, the fact remains that as a representative of the department, it is expected that the employee would conduct both on and off duty behavior in such manner that it does not bring dishonor or disrepute to the department and its reputation. Also, by providing false, evasive, or incomplete responses and statements to law enforcement personnel, the employee has further sullied the department's reputation to another agency. Employee is guilty of acts incompatible with and or inimical to the public service when on August 18, 2022, the employee's conduct in using, possessing, and transporting marijuana in an open container, as well as possessing, carrying, and transporting a concealed firearm at the same time as using or possessing marijuana, was adverse to the department's executive order. And its mission, vision, values, and goals are set forth in its policy and procedure manual. Such conduct was further inimical to the department's core values when the employee should know that as a member of the department, it is expected that he possess the honesty, integrity, and trust to do what is right, even when no one is watching. Level of discipline. The department believes that the employee's actions leave no other option than termination of the employee. The man staff believes that the violations are so serious that the employee cannot be trusted to perform his duties consistent with the department's policies, orders, philosophies, and expectations. The employee has expressed regret and points to a prior decision as precedence for the commission to follow by choosing instead to reduce the discipline, allowing the employee to return to the department with some appropriate suspension, but with an award of back pay. However, this matter is not as similar to as the employee believes. The prior case involved use of marijuana under a doctor's prescription and confusion over changing laws. In this case, there has been no evidence that the employee believed that his actions in smoking marijuana in a public place, driving with an open container of marijuana, or possessing a concealed weapon on his person or in his car were based on confusion over differences between departmental policies, on the other hand, and changing laws at the state level and changing policies at the federal level on the other. The employee is trained as a correctional counselor and was even promoted to a supervising correctional counselor with the responsibilities to assist detained inmates of the department's detention facilities on what is right and wrong with the goal of reducing recidivism. Yet he disregarded his own training to make so many choices on that day in August of 2022 that this hearing officer cannot support a decision to reject this discipline and return him to his position. Based on the findings and conclusions set forth above, I hereby recommend the following decision. One, that the amended order of termination and charges be affirmed. And two, that the proposed decision shall become effective upon the date of approval by the Civil Service Commission, and I so move.
Thank you, Commissioner Fletcher. Do we have a second?
Second.
Item's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the item? All right, absent any discussion, I'll ask the Commission Secretary to record the Commissioner votes.
Commissioner Coleman,
Aye.
Commissioner Fletcher,
Aye.
Commissioner Rodriguez Kennedy,
Aye.
Commissioner Smith.
Aye. The motion passes 4-0. All right, that concludes today's meeting. I'd like to thank you all for attending. The next commission meeting is scheduled for August 7th, 2024. This meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, commissioners.